Welcome to the Decision Lab podcast, the sanctuary for wellness professionals like therapists, coaches, creators, and more who are looking to over-deliver to their clients.
We uncover the truth behind cutting-edge wellness products by going straight to the founder.
We use our backgrounds in neuroscience, chemical engineering, and marketing to ask the hard questions in order to eliminate bias, misinformation, and fancy marketing language.
Allowing you to make better wellness decisions and recommendations for yourself and your clients.
So if you're a leader in the health and wellness space, welcome. This podcast was designed for you.
Join us every week for interviews that will change how you think about wellness.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Decision Lab. Pumped to have you here. Today, we're talking to Dr. Stacy. She holds a bachelor's and master's degree in education. She's a teacher. Let's go. As well as PhDs in integrative and functional medicine. She's a holistic health and wellness entrepreneur, Reiki master, same here, yoga instructor, and certified leadership coach. She's the author of Beyond Keto and also serves as a senior presidential director with LifeWave and sits on the U.S. advisory board for the company. She has driven her passion for improving the quality of life for her family. Her mission is to make a positive impact on the world by sharing her knowledge and empowering others through education. Welcome to the pod, Dr. Stacy.
Thank you, Cody. Excited to be here.
We're excited to have you start off the conversation.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah. So I would love to learn a little bit more about you, especially you have a PhD in quantum integrative medicine. It's really interesting. I haven't heard about that. I'd love to learn, got you into that field, what that field is, maybe what your dissertation was on, those types of things.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll take you back just a little bit. I'm going to take you back to learning about stem cell therapy. 25 years ago, when I was pregnant with my daughter, banked both of my kids' cord blood. So very much into cutting edge, holistic types of therapies that long ago. Actually ended up having my daughter misdiagnosed with a couple different types of cancers when she was age 4. We spent a year in the hospital. My normal 4-year-old was no longer, after that year, able to walk or talk or take care of herself. I actually pulled her out of the hospital on 25 oral and IV meds, PICC line, a central line, a G tube, a J tube, a trach, and a shunt in her brain. And I took a deep dive after that horrible year in the hospital into more different types of holistic therapies and modalities to see what I had left of a child. And after about a year and a half, came up from under the water, what it felt like, with a kid that was detoxed. And I knew then at that point she was able to understand what was going on, but she was trapped inside of her body. So from that point, we had a 15-year span of everything I could get my hands on in the holistic world, with alternative types of doctors, therapists, chiropractors, Reiki masters, shamans, PT, OT, speech, anybody that would do anything that was not the norm. I was in their office traveling in and out of the country. And a big part of that 15 years was spent doing different types of stem cell therapy, HBOT, traveling down to Mexico to do injection, many different types of German laser-directed technologies with stem cells. So that PhD in quantum integrative medicine came from those 15 years in the field with her, with hands-on, with practitioners learning the really intricacies of what does that mean. And I got my PhD back in 2018-ish, was when I started that, because of just, it was a perfect time of culmination of putting everything together. And I didn't have any plan other than I just wanted that piece of that experience. I wanted to have, not that I was going to go into practice. I didn't want to do that. As you'd said, I was a school teacher years ago. I've always taught in the health and wellness sector and taught from experience, things that I've done with my daughter over the years. So that PhD really, for me, just really summed everything up in what I had learned with these different doctors and practitioners. So that kind of brought me to, where I am, I would say about 3.5, 4 years ago in my journey.
Heck yeah. I love that. So I would love in someone who has so much personal experience, especially with someone so close to them, I can't imagine like how hard that had to have been, like having your own child struggling like that. I can't even imagine. Like that would suck. Could you break down what quantum wellness means to you and like how now you apply it to your everyday life, or for people who maybe aren't familiar with that or it's their first time hearing it?
So there are many different beliefs out there on quantum physics, quantum wellness. To me, that is going from the inside out. It's looking at the root of the issues, looking at it from not just a physical body, because we are not a physical body. We are everything, right? We are our emotions. We are our spirit. We are our soul. We are everything that everyone and everything on this planet, in this universe, and the multiverses are. So quantum wellness says, I'm not going to just look at this ache or this pain or this issue or this blood work, this number on a piece of paper. I'm going to go within and I'm going to search for what that is. What is the root of this physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? How can I myself be the healer? Turning inward. And I'm not saying I don't, like I said, of course, my journey is utilizing all these different types of therapies and modalities and people to expand awareness, to expand a different level of understanding and taking responsibility for that wellness.
Heck yeah. Yeah, it sounds like spirituality is a big piece of a lot of the work that you do. Is there any specific, we talked Reiki a couple times, are there any specific modalities or anything that in relation to spirituality specifically that you like to integrate into the work you do with people?
So I think it's really important that people understand the universal laws. Like everyone understands gravity. They get gravity. They all know if they fall off a building, they're going to probably, hurt themselves or die. So we get that universal law, but why do we not get these spiritual laws? These things that are true 100%. And if you know them, are aware of them, and live your life to them, you can live your life in such a way that seems unparalleled to most other people's lives.
Tell us more. Like, you can't just use us like that. What are these universal laws? I don't know if I've heard of these before.
Well, I mean, there are many different spiritual laws that you are bound by, cause and effect, right? Most people feel like I'm going to go, do this X, Y, Z, and something's going to happen, right? There's a cause and there's effect. Is that really the case? Are we really bound by cause and effect? Or are we actually coming from something that's already created and we just step into that, tuning into that? So I'm really big into alignment in our thoughts and in our soul, that heart-brain connection, but really staying more focused in that heart and your soul. That alignment is where everything comes from. And when you know that you have a purpose here, you have a mission, you're here to learn lessons, it's almost kind of like, okay, I'm learning this lesson, let me check this off. How many times have you, prime example, texting with someone earlier, talking about a situation, and I said the key word, boundaries. You are not learning this spiritual law yet. It's real here. This is happening because you haven't addressed it, right? So addressing those things. So it's like, check. Yes, I've learned that. And now I'm going to move on. So staying in alignment with what serves your highest good at all times, and making sure that I'm not going to get into all the different laws because there's lots of different, books and modalities and teachers with that. We don't have time to go into all that today. But just the key thing I would say is understanding alignment with your higher self, with the higher purpose, whether it's God, the divine, the universe, whatever you believe in, whatever you feel is true to your soul, but staying in alignment with that, because you know the direction you're supposed to go if you're living in that alignment and taking the time to seek that, right? Again, going back within, every answer is inside, right? And so without, as above, so below, everything is here. I just have to tap into that. I have to tune into that, and I have to ask for that guidance, expect it, and get up and act on it. And most people just tend to, I would say, bark words in need of times of need, right? And it's not about that. It's having this divine communion with the divine at all times so that you're getting these divine downloads and inspiration and using that to lead you and guide you in your path. So it's a little taste.
Wow. I love that. Especially, I've got a background in cognitive behavioral neuroscience. So determinism, cause and effect, like all this kind of stuff is part of the philosophy that makes up neuroscience and linguistics. So it's kind of interesting to hear this is framed as a universal law. So I view it as a neurological law. So that's cool. A question I like to ask people is, you're talking about quantum, you're talking about universal laws, spirituality, cause, all these different things. If I'd known you in middle school, would I have known you'd land here?
No.
Ooh, tell me more.
So in middle school, I was the rowdy teenager running the group, running our group of girls. We were on the ball field playing softball, kicking butt every single weekend. We were definitely out there taking names for sure.
That's awesome. Where was the turning point?
High school. probably about my junior year, I was like, this is not really serving me and what's in my heart. I felt like I thrived on the ball field. I had a blast. I had a great time and, really enjoyed winning at the game. But I also realized that it was at the detriment of not necessarily lifting other people up. And I didn't like that. And I changed my friends group, and started, running with other girls that were more heart focused, centered, still very focused on my goals and what I was accomplishing and, becoming the best in whatever that was that I was doing at that time, going into college and, becoming a teacher, but shifted my focus to not so much as me being the best, but how can I help other people be the best?
I love that. You're talking to two athletes right now as well. So I definitely can resonate with that. So along this journey, it's been a long time where let's over into LifeWave and how you got over there. Like, what has been some of the biggest lessons that you've learned, and how is that tied into some of the work that you're doing at LifeWave?
Probably the biggest thing when I first found out about LifeWave 3.5 years ago was I've always been in the health and wellness sector. And even though my daughter had went through horrific experiences as a child, right, with that year in the hospital and what she had experienced, and the other kids that I saw suffering so greatly, I hadn't really seen a severe level of suffering in people's quality of life through that 15 years. There were struggles, but I had kind of almost been taken away from that and really been into that wellness sector of let's get your body healthy. Let me help you with your kids, stay off antibiotics, prevent medications, for ear infections. And let me use essential oils to help you with this instead of over counter, right? So kind of surface level things. Let's use some greens to detox, okay? But when I found out about LifeWave from the very first event where I got to meet the inventor, David Schmidt, where he was doing a presentation here in Sarasota, I realized then that people were seriously suffering and struggling with their health. This was 2021, right? We're coming out of the pandemic, right? The heart of that happened in 2020, and people's health was going downhill fast. So for me, LifeWave was a way to open that door and expand my understanding with not only my people here locally that I was hearing from their experiences, but also as we connected through Zoom over the next months and years, and still to this day, connecting with people that are on a fast track going the wrong direction. And they may have maybe not been super healthy before, but now things have been exacerbated and they are very sick and they're grasping at straws. So this has given me an opportunity to dive in there with people even deeper, make a deeper impact in their health, and be able to help pull them. Like I'd said earlier, I felt like I was underwater that first year and a half after we got out of the hospital with my daughter. I feel like I'm able to help people pull them out of the water. They're sinking. And this gives me an opportunity with this technology in a really easy, simple way to pull them up, and they're not sinking anymore. And so watching that is extremely rewarding.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. So another question I'd love to ask is, like, why is LifeWave important? Like, why was it necessary to create a new technology as opposed to use things that already exist? Like, we talk with a lot of innovative technology, health and wellness tech companies and stuff. And so I'm just always curious on why do we not just use what's already there? And there's usually a good story in there. So I would love to understand that.
Yeah. So I'll share with you a little bit about how this got started. David Schmidt, as I said, is the inventor of the tech. He's been an inventor his whole life, scientist. He's 62 years old now. He holds 150 patents personally. I know that's a lot, right? I don't have a brain cell to even invent one thing, let alone 150 things that are patented, not to mention that
your life.
Anyway, David was working with a group of men in this company that were contracted by the U.S. Department of Defense. And they were asked to help contribute to the mini submission with the Navy SEALs survival equipment. They were needing different types of survival equipment. David invented many things for the SEALs that were just exceptional. And so they asked him, would you please contribute to the problem the SEALs are having with being on uppers, caffeine, amphetamines? Their quality of life is not so great, sustainability, and, they're days and weeks on end, and they're on caffeine, amphetamines, and all this stuff. We need help. And he said, actually, I've been thinking about the body, the energy, the cells, and, kind of like a turbine, right? The energy inside of every cell. He said, I have something that I would like to try with them, and it's this 2-patch system that triggers beta oxidation in the body, turns body fat into fuel, and it will give you stamina, energy, endurance by impacting the mitochondria function, increasing the ATP out of your cells, right, from that mitochondria. So they said, yeah, sure, go for it. So secret, undercover, black op technology invented for the Navy SEALs back at the beginning of 2000. That went really well for the SEALs. Things were going great. They were coming off of their meds and all their stuff and were using the energy enhancer. 9/11 happened here in the U.S. U.S. Department of Defense pulled out of that mini sub SEAL mission. David then said, that was a good idea. I need proof. I'm a scientist. I'm a researcher. I need a larger database of people. He went to his friend Richard Quick, who is, going back to athletes, 6-time USA Olympic swim coach at Stanford University, where he coaches female gold medalist athletes. Said, can we do some clinical studies? 6 out of 8 beat their PR from their previous gold medal, first time using energy enhancer. May have a product here. So what started for something to solve a problem with the government, with the Navy SEALs, went to the USA Olympic swim team, Michael Phelps, 2004. Many David Beckham, many athletes years ago started using this technology to get an upper edge. It's non-transdermal. Nothing enters the body, no contraindications. We have anti-doping world, anti-doping US. Nothing is entering, okay? So this technology was created for a need at that time, but then went on to expand and say, how can we help other athletes, people that are physically fit? Now, how can we help the population when we look at mitochondrial dysfunction? How can we help everyone get something to help their body in a way that's non-invasive, that has no contraindications, no side effects or interactions or adverse effects at all? So over the span of the last 20 years, David has invented a dozen different patches. Now, we are not just a patch company. We are a life technology company. The things that he has coming out now that will work in conjunction with the patches, but a totally different type of technology. Again, to be cutting edge, leading edge, he is being given the information from the divine, downloaded these ideas, these codes, if you'll say, of what to create and what to do and how to put these things together to bring them to the planet to be able to help humanity. So it's not saying it takes the place of something else. We have a lot of tools in our toolbox, right? We use different types of things to be able to help us be in our best shape, right? Be on our A game. But there are a lot of people, like I said, that are suffering. They're not on their A game. They're on all kinds of medications. They've had surgeries. They've had accidents. They have lifestyle, things that have deterred their health and their longevity. And this gives them a simple way to not have to worry about any of the things I've mentioned that most people worry about when using any type of tool or modality. This cutting edge tool helps people in a very effective and affordable way in 82 different countries.
Interesting. Started with the military and now it's hit the mainstream. That's it's always a fun time. I like that.
Mhm.
So could you tell us a little bit more, like specifically of like what it is, what it looks like, how it works type
Yeah.
of stuff? Like I get
Absolutely.
some of the bigger picture. We'll get into some of the more deeper science stuff here in a second, but just how does it work? Like it's your patches, or like just tell us more about that for someone who maybe has never seen this before.
All right. So this is what it looks like. It looks like a little round Band-Aid. It's sticky on one side and smooth on the other. Okay. This is a non-transdermal patch. So transdermal patches are like nicotine, birth control, weight loss, pain patches. They transfer a chemical, medicine, nutrient into the body. This is a wearable light technology. So what David has invented is in the middle of that white part, and we can dive into that a little bit later, the lattice structure that's in there. But when I put this on my body, it works with my body's heat or light that I emit to be able to reflect back a specific wavelength of light that elevates a peptide instantly.
And so people, you just put them on, or like how long do you have to wear them? Is there a specific place to put them? Is there, what are some of the, you got to put it on your chest, like over your vagus nerve, or like?
I'm putting it right here so you can see it.
Nice.
And everyone can see it. But we have clinical studies. So we have over 90 clinical studies that have been done over the last 20 years. Many of them, of course, double-blind, placebo-controlled, peer-reviewed studies. So in the studies, the people have to be doing the same thing. So we do have instruction booklets that show you exact acupuncture points based on different meridians that you can apply the patches. So we have our participants in the studies using this patch on the same location, depending on what patch it is, because that's how we show that it is impacting organ function or system function. So when you get up in the morning, you put your patch on, you leave it on 12 hours, take it off, you throw it away. And then the next morning you get up and put on a new patch, and you do this day after day, week after week, month after month. Based on what's going on with you, based on your age, and whatever your needs may be, right? This is a patch called X39. So this is a patch that elevates a specific peptide, but each patch will do something different depending on what it is, right? Some reduce inflammation, some help induce a good night's sleep, some are going to increase glutathione. They all do different things. David, I said, invented a dozen over the last 20 years. It took him 10 years in the lab to figure out how to do what X39 does. And I can go into that a little bit more with you as well too. But the patches are in, the locations are in the instruction booklet because of whatever organ or system that meridian lines to. So David's very much Eastern medicine, Western medicine, merging the two and saying these are the great points to apply, but you can put the patch anywhere you want on the body. The whole body is emitting heat or light.
Got it. Okay, cool. Something that's interesting that you mentioned a couple times is I think GKU, maybe stem cell. You mentioned stem cell. Is this a type of stem cell therapy? Is it like, talk to me about the stem cell effect, because that seems to be a big piece of your personal story with your daughters as
Right.
well.
So with my daughter, like I said, I banked both my kids' cord blood, knowing at that time there was a show that I watched on the Learning Channel that they were curing African American children of sickle cell anemia with donor cord blood. And they said, if you bank the cord blood down the road, you could use this for curing heart disease, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's. You could use this for whatever, right? So that's why I spent the money to bank it. Like, I don't know, it's a great kind of insurance policy. Kept it over in Cincinnati in a cryo facility. I never saw it, but it was there. Both of my kids. 15 years of doing different types of stem cell therapy. Stem cells are the holy grail of healing. Hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy pushes more stem cells from your bone marrow, right? We actually injected donor stem cells into my daughter to be able to help her. She'd had a brain bleed while in the hospital. So, intravenous injections, I'd mentioned German laser directed. We did a stem cell therapy with a doctor out in California that actually was able to maneuver with that laser where those stem cells would go. So this technology, our patent on X39 states that we elevate a peptide, GHK-Cu, copper peptide, GHK. It's a peptide. We have thousands of them. This is one specific peptide that this elevates. It's the fountain of youth. If you research GHK, I'll share this book with you. Dr. Lauren Picard discovered this book, this peptide, and it talks about it in this book. He discovered it 53 years ago in our body. So he has 53 years of research and studies on everything from asthma and allergies to cancer, COPD, you name it. Everything in between, he talks about the benefits of elevating GHK. Okay, so this patch elevates our own. He was injecting, right? Most commonly, GHK is known in the skincare world for anti-aging, lines, wrinkles, spots. Not that you guys have to worry about that. But us women, we go get our facials and we want all the creams and all the stuff, all the serums and lotions and potions. So GHK is really commonly known for improving skin quality. But it also, when you elevate GHK, like I said, our patent states that we elevate GHK. GHK actually upregulates or resets a third of their genes back to their young, youthful, healthy state. That is a huge benefit of elevating your own GHK. One of those genes is responsible for activating, elevating, and mobilizing stem cells. So our patent states that we elevate GHK and we activate stem cells in the body, your stem cells. And we know we are all born from stem cells. The sperm and the egg get together, they frolic, and you have stem cells, heart cells, liver cells, kidney cells, brain cells, hair, eyes, whatever. The baby is born, and all those organs and systems and stuff stay. But some of the cells stay pluripotent or changeable. They can turn into anything the body needs throughout life. Okay, that's why when you're a kid, you heal so fast. You fall out of the tree, you fall off your bike, you break a bone, you scrape yourself, you're healing, healing, healing. You've got so much energy, your mental clarity, everything is perfect. Sleep, everything. As we age, we have less and less stem cells that are active. It's just part of the aging process or degeneration process. I don't know how old you guys are, But by the time you're in your mid-30s, that's technically halfway through your life, that you have half of your stem cells that are still active and viable and moving and doing things. By the time you're in your 60s, you have less than 10%. So what this does is it elevates GHK, resets those genes, wakes up those dormant stem cells, and your stem cells go to work to repair and regenerate whatever's needed in your body. Okay? Does that make sense?
So it's like a second order effect in a way.
It's a what? Say that again?
It's kind of like a second order effect where right. So it elevates GHK in your body and blood, and then as a secondary effect, that can increase production of newer stem cells.
Correct.
Embryonic stem cells. That's interesting. I'd love to get into some of the science here in a second. But before we do, I would love to understand who's the ideal person that you guys like to work with. Like, do you guys have an ideal, like, this is our dream person who we can help the best type of person? Is it people working with stem cells like your daughter, or who needs different stem cell type therapies like your daughter? Is it, who's ideal for y'all?
So the thing is, I always say from 2 to 102. Okay. We've got people of all ages with all different types of situations and conditions, and people with no problems at all. When I started patching 3.5 years ago, I had nothing wrong with me. All the things I did with my daughter, I did myself. So I have been extremely healthy. I've always wanted stem cells because of the power of stem cells to heal the body and to also repair, regenerate, and reverse. I met a lot of people along the way that were using stem cell therapies in other countries and even locally in this, this country, to be able to help them in their longevity journey, right? That journey of longevity and overall wellness and vitality. That's a key component of reverse aging.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. So perfect. People want to be healthier. Hopefully it's everybody.
I mean, it could be anything wrong with you and it could be nothing wrong with you.
Right. Yeah.
Like, people you want to look at like myself with my biomarkers. I look at what has this done for me? What has changed in my life? A lot has changed on the inside, right? Being as healthy as I have been and nothing wrong with me, I'm now half of my biological age, right? I'm chronological age. Biologically, I'm half of that.
Wow.
So that's important awesome. When I look at longevity and overall vitality and wellness.
Love that. Prevention, I feel like, is not talked about enough in these.
No, it's not. It really isn't.
When we talk about longevity.
Yes.
It's not about curing things. It's also about preventing things. So, so you mentioned you've been using this for 3 years yourself as well. And so this is, do you still use today and still love it and use it daily?
I do, because like I said, for me, it was all about I wanted, but I didn't want that $25,000 price tag to those stem cells. But I wanted them to make sure everything on the inside was healthy, right? I mean, we can go get a scan, you can get blood work, but do you really know everything that's really happening on the inside? I'm doing all the things, right? All the core foundational things of functional medicine, right? Everything in the biohacking world or the wellness world or whatever you want to call that, to make sure that physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I'm in check. But at the end of the day, someone in their 50s tends to typically kind of look towards those, those top 5 killers. Not that I was, but, I just turned 50 a week ago. So, looking at that number going, yes way, looking at that number and going, I want to make sure I'm half that when I'm looking at my blood work, because I know that 25-year-olds don't have diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, right? And those things heart disease, they don't pop up for a 25-year-old. But when you get into your 50s, those things tend to start creeping into people, even doing the best we can. A lot of times we see that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I'd love to dive a little bit further into the science. My background's science. So I love working with people and talking about science. We work with a lot of innovative tech companies that be surprised the claims that they make based on some of the research that they've done or haven't done and things like that. So I'd love to learn. You've mentioned a couple times, like the founder himself had done some initial research. There's the research that y'all have done. Like, talk to us some more about some of the stuff that went into the research behind these products, these patches.
Yes. So David has himself and many other doctors and scientists have actually done over 90 different clinical studies. And so the studies are all using the different patches and looking at different types of markers, whether they're looking at blood work or urine analysis or neurotransmitters or even, looking into the biofield. They're all different. So there's not one study that's the same. A couple that are pretty profound that I always love to share is looking at the cardiovascular system. So when we look at this patch X39, this patch we can see in 6 weeks of use, a reversal in the functionality of that vascular system by 8 weeks.
Oh,
So
break that down a little bit.
yeah. So I put this on every day. I leave it on 12 hours. I take it off and I throw it away. I put on a new one the next day, 12 hours, right? 6 weeks goes by. My vascular system throughout my whole entire body being tested in these clinical studies is functioning 8 weeks younger than it was before. So it is reversed its functionality or improved its ability to function dramatically, okay, in a 6-week period of time. So you compound that over time, you're talking months and months younger that your heart is functioning, your vascular system is functioning by the end of a 12-month period of time. So there's a compound effect.
Is there, like, have there been longitudinal studies that you guys have done past the 6 weeks to test and retest this heart tissue and stuff? So I couldn't find any most of them were shorter sample sizes, smaller sample sizes and over short periods of time.
So for example, one of our studies was looking at X39 and 49 together. So X49 is the most recent patch that David invented a couple years ago. Okay. So it activates different peptide AHK. So AHK has an affinity for those of us that like to work out, building lean muscle mass, reducing body fat, stopping bone loss. We even have a 12-month study on the increase in bone density over a 12-month period of time. But when we, again, look at the cardiovascular system, we look out 60 days and we say, okay, what's happening with the blood pressure, systolic, diastolic? And we can see a reduction in those. We can see improvements in that cardiovascular function when we look at the VO2 max, when we're looking at the recovery time, circulation, oxygenation, how fast the body is responding, how fast it is recovering, and of course, what that output is from the get-go, right? That improvement in the body's functionality, looking at that vascular system. So I don't know if you've looked at that study or not, but that's using 39 and 49 together. We do have a couple different studies that are getting ready to come out that are with a much larger population, because a lot of ours are 60 people, maybe 80 people, 100 people, just depends. Some of the pilot studies were even 10 or 15, right? There's been a lot of studies done and different patches. But some of the ones that are getting ready to come out, we should have Dr. Caitlin Connor will be at our conference in Dallas in a couple weeks, and she'll be presenting that information. So 2 weeks from now, those will be published, and those take a larger population of people over a longer period of time, looking at X39 and what it does and the benefits of the increase, not only in the consistency of the compound effect with the peptide elevation, but also with the stem cell activation and those being mobile in your body. Because as you patch, it takes time. We recommend at least a decade for every month you are old to wake up those dormant stem cells and get them mobile in your body. So we look at that from a longer period of time.
Interesting. And how is that measured?
Blood work for sure. And you can see the elevation of GHK in the blood, and you can see the active stem cells in the blood as well too.
Wow, that's awesome. Is there, so I was looking, you mentioned a couple clinical trials and different things that you guys have done. Looked at clinicaltrials.gov and I couldn't find any. Is there a reason that you haven't put any on there yet, or in relation to like transparency and like putting stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was going there.
So when we look at our studies, again, they've been done with different doctors and scientists all over the world. So David has, of course, all of them because he's worked closely with all of them. But we don't have any, like on PubMed, you can find the GHK studies. There's 13 pages of studies in elevating GHK. I believe we have one, if I remember, one of ours is on there for elevating GHK, but we just don't go through that process of getting them all published. Some of them are published in different scientific journals. Like I said, some of them are peer-reviewed, double-blind placebo, and you can find all of those on LifeWave's website, all the different studies, but we just don't go through with the time and the energy and effort with all of them to get them all on there.
Got it. I was trying to find, it might have to direct me around here. Because when I looked at the science section on the website, because I always do that for whatever product we meet with, they usually have some type of science section. There's a lot about patents. There's a lot about like PBM or photobiomodulation, phototherapy, things like that. I just couldn't find the research study. So maybe you'll have to direct me around to find some more of those.
I can also send you a different site that we house all of them. If you want that site, I can send you that. It houses all of them. and they are actually in order by the actual patch. So it just
Awesome. That would be
quick
great.
breakdown drops down. I know our LifeWave website, you got to kind of maneuver through there to find them. They're in all of our back offices, of course, for us to be able to find as well too, but I can send you that other site.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be great for the show description. You mentioned Dr. Connors. Are there any reputable journals that you guys have been in yet, or any like notable things like that?
I'd have to pull them up right now to give you the names of the journals. There are several different scientific journals that we are in that, like I said, that have been published and double-blind, placebo-controlled, peer-reviewed. I don't know the names of the journals off the top of my head, but I can definitely get them for you.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. We love talking research. Something else that's interesting, when you think about the FDA, they have general warnings about unproven stem cell therapies. I'm sure from the experience with your daughter that you had, you're not new to hearing about this stuff. It's not completely inconceivable to think that there could be some people that don't want us to live forever. So, and it's also kind of risky to put a non-regulated product on your body. Like, what do you think consumers should think about before making a decision to use a product like this?
Well, I want them to remember that this is non-transdermal. So nothing is actually transferring through your skin into your body. What's on the inside of this white part is a crystal lattice structure. That's what David's invented. It is made up of a proprietary blend of organic amino acids, sugars, oxygen, and water. That lattice becomes reflective. Those molecules, they're called chiral stereoisomers. They form together in a lattice that's reflective, and that does not enter your body. So not amino acids like our pre-workouts or sugars from your kitchen, but actual stereoisomers that are forming together in a specific way to reflect back a very specific wavelength of light. So number one, it's safe. It's non-invasive. There's nothing entering your body at all. So that's the first thing you need to know. A lot of people want to know, what are the contraindications? What are the potential side effects or risks or adverse reactions? We have none of those because we don't put anything into the body. This is a wavelength of light. So if I were to go outside in the sun right now, a specific wavelength of light from the sun is going to hit my skin and elevate my vitamin D and my melanin, correct? Right? And that's a good thing. We want our vitamin D elevated. We want our melanin elevated. That antioxidant protects our skin and keeps us healthy, right? So does vitamin D. So I'm sure you're familiar with infrared saunas, right? I have an infrared sauna. I push a button and it says detox, and wavelengths of light come out that I don't see or feel, but they're changing inside of my body. So safe, right? There's nothing harmful that can happen to me. I'm just sitting in my beautiful little box in my gym, and I'm helping to detox my body, or I'm helping my cardiovascular system. Same thing with red light pads or lasers. Those are types of light therapy that create change in the body. The difference with this is we don't have to worry about sitting in a box or going outside or using a laser or any pad or anything like that. This utilizes our body's own heat, our body's heat. So we are the power source. So that means we don't have to worry about contraindications with maybe a medicine that we're using or a supplement that we're using. There's no interactions because there's nothing entering into the body.
Interesting. So the lattice structure is it's not taking light from your external environment and turning that to your skin. It's taking light, or light, just a simple light, from your body and reflecting it back into your body.
Correct.
And that is that light being reflected back through this lattice structure that you're describing is what then increases the GHK. It has all the secondary effects that we've talked about so far.
That's what the patent states, that using this patch, they can see in as little as 24 hours the elevation in the blood of GHK and the activation of stem cells in the participants. So that's what the patent states.
So is there any research on the mechanism of action? Like, how does that actually do that? Like, how does it actually increase GHK and stem cell, all the different benefits that it talks about?
Yep, I can send you that 52-page document as well too.
Heck yeah.
I've got a lot to send you after we hop off here. Yeah, so again, David, this is patented. So this is proprietary ingredients and information. You're not going to know what that combination is, and you won't know the wavelength of light because that's patented, but you will be able to understand how that stimulates the skin, the nerves underneath the skin, and that wavelength of light is elevating GHK, or it's elevating your glutathione. Different patches elevate different things. Or like I said, with energy enhancer, triggering beta oxidation. It is a wavelength of light that directly impacts the mitochondria, triggering that beta oxidation, increasing the output of the ATP from your cells.
It's interesting. And is there other areas of science or other types of processes that have this kind of effect that has you mentioned IRs or like infrared saunas or different things like that. You mentioned on your website, phototherapy, photobiomodulation, PBM or whatever. Talk to us about some of that, like how this light can have an effect on your body and soul.
So phototherapy or photobiomodulation has been studied for years and years and years. You can find thousands of clinical studies on light therapy, right? And so whether it's a sauna or the sun or a laser or a red light bed, or I get facials and they put the red light facial, the mask on my face to increase collagen and elastin while they're doing, arm, neck, shoulder, whatever. So light creates change. So we don't see the light, we don't feel the light, but the different wavelengths of light that enter through our skin are creating some type of biochemical reaction on the inside. They're elevating something, or they're causing a biochemical reaction inside of the body to help improve the body's functionality in whatever it is. With my skin, it's the increase in the collagen and elastin. Right? If it's in the sauna and I'm pushing the cardiovascular button, that wavelength of light is going to directly impact my cardiovascular function, increasing my cardiovascular, system output to be able to help with the overall function of that cardiovascular system, right? Improving my heart. So every different wavelength of light, and obviously there's thousands of them. This patch is, all I can tell you, is somewhere between 400 and 1,000 nanometers is the wavelength of light. David's patented a lot of different wavelengths of light that he is utilizing and has utilized through the patches and other ways as well too, because light creates change. We don't have to see it or feel it. We see it in studies, right? Like I said, photobiomodulation, you can find thousands of studies on the benefits of light therapy, phototherapy, to help with pain reduction, reduction of inflammation, wound healing, faster wound healing, better quality of sleep, improved circulation, improved mental function, cognition, memory, exercise, performance, enhancement, recovery. There's just so many different things out there that light therapy across the board, right, has done over years and years and years and has been studied. Specifically, when we talk about stem cells, like I'd mentioned with the HBOT, hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy, your hours in a chamber under sea level, right, with compressed oxygen to try to force the stem cells out of that bone marrow, right, and get them circulating into your body. You got to do that for at least 60 hours to be able to see that, that at least a year's worth of long-term healing, recovery, and effects. And we did it. We did 60 dives with my daughter in a chamber in Cincinnati, Ohio, with a doctor, former Navy SEAL. That's 62 hours in that chamber, right? And for a year and a half's worth of benefits after. So this is a much simpler way to harness the body's own energy, right? Our own heat and light that we're emitting to use something that's simple. It's accessible. It's easy. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to sit anywhere. You don't have to do anything but put it on and take it off 12 hours later and let everything take place that the body used to do anyways. It used to be in balance, right? When you were younger, you had a body in harmony. Things just got out of balance along the way. So let's stop that degeneration process. And it's not about living forever, because no one's getting out of here alive, okay? It's not about living forever. It's about having the best quality of life while you are here. And if you're down that slippery slope, right, you go in the wrong direction, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever's going on, because my second favorite study is on the brain. We only have one heart. We only have one brain. When we look at the brain, we look at EEGs. We are looking at brain mapping, and we're monitoring these 60 participants over a 6-week period of time. This one study, okay? And you can see what a brain looks like that's hot, right? A brain that's not in coherence. We've got a lot of red, orange, things are lit up. And then you watch after 3 weeks, and you watch after 6 weeks, and you see the brain come into coherence, the right brain, left brain communicating with each other. You see anxiety levels come down, right? And so that's important for people to have a brain that's functioning correctly, a heart that's functioning correctly. The cardiovascular and neurological systems are vitally important for everything we do every single day. But doing it in such a way that and I've done neurofeedback with my daughter forever. We did neurofeedback. It was incredible. You're sitting there for hours watching a videotape with all this stuff hooked up to you, right, to reprogram, where we know this forms new neural pathways. This helps the brain wire and fire in ways that are bringing the left and right brain into harmony, into balance. helping to reduce the anxiety, helping to improve your cognition, communication. If you just even research GHK, what it does neurologically, it crosses the blood-brain barrier. It's a huge antioxidant. It's very powerful in its healing benefits for the brain in so many ways. So it's just it's an incredible, easy, think about people with, in-stage cognitive issues or different types of degenerative issues. What are they able to do? Sometimes nothing. Sometimes they're not able to go anywhere, do anything. And we have so many people, we have a population of people in this aging sector that are searching for anything and everything to help their parents or themselves have the best quality of life with the little life they have left. People don't want to see their family members suffer. Everyone wants to see their family living the best that they possibly can with the time they have here.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd be interested to see larger studies. In the discussion of that 60 the brain one specifically, that didn't think that it beat the placebo effect, which I don't really care about because placebo effect is still an effect. I'd be very interested to see larger scale research, like 200, 300, like randomized control trials, things like that with some of this stuff as well, especially in relation to the brain.
It's in the docket. Don't worry. That's currently happening right now because that's been a big thing with the FDA. They want larger populations of studies. They want more length of time. And those are they're in the works right now. David is very much on research and data and having the data to prove. And not that we are ever claiming to treat or cure anything. We never do that. We look at organ function, system function, improving the cellular function in the body, improving, that quality of life. So not looking at any diseases, we never will on our clinical studies, but being able to show over a longer period of time with a larger group of people that impact in their quality of life, in their organ function, in their cellular function, and in their overall life.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. So this principle of photobiomodulation, I would love to dive a little bit because that seems like the core mechanism of action here that you guys talk about. Generally, I've studied pretty well. I love it. I think it's awesome. Optogenetics is some of the basic research that I did and like how light can stimulate specific neurons and things like that. And really, it involves pretty direct light exposure at really, really specific wavelengths and energy dosages. And this concept of passive reflection and off of the lattice in this patch is something I'm really curious about. How what the patch does align with like what we know about PBM.
So using the patch is going to elevate a peptide. So that's the main thing that you need to remember. Putting the patch on, that wavelength of light is elevating a peptide.
Yep.
That peptide then goes and does what that peptide does. Okay, so it's not just like putting a laser on a specific point to try to target that organ. Right? If this is my large intestine meridian, I'm not going to put I can put a laser here and that's going to impact the functionality of my large intestine. So we're actually elevating a peptide. When you elevate that peptide, those stem cells, that peptide goes throughout the entire body, searches out areas that are in need. So it's not just a wavelength of light targeting a specific organ or a specific system, right? Like if I'm sitting in my sauna and I'm pushing the cardiovascular button, that's targeting only my cardiovascular system. If I'm pushing the anti-aging button, then that's targeting my skin. Okay? So different total mechanism here in that we're hitting a peptide instead of injecting a peptide. We're saying, let's elevate this peptide. This peptide is then going to go do what it's going to do throughout the body. So when we elevate glutathione is then going to go do whatever it needs to do throughout the whole entire body. Whether it's for the joints, whether it's for the gut, whether it's for, the free radicals in the body, glutathione is going to go where it needs to go. We don't direct it. We can't pinpoint where the glutathione's going. We can't pinpoint where the carnosine's going. We know carnosine has an affinity for the brain, for the heart, for the muscles and the organs, but we can't say, well, I'm going to elevate carnosine and it's going to go here today. Because your body is smart, it knows how to heal itself. So this technology turns on the body's ability to heal itself. It says, let's do what you used to do, what you did effectively. So that's different than other types of light therapy. Yes, that wavelength of light from the sun can elevate my vitamin D. And that vitamin D is going to go do what that vitamin D is going to do in my body, right? Hormone balance and things like that. So this is targeting very specific. Each patch is very specific in what it targets. But then once that enters that wavelength of light enters the body, that peptide then goes and does what it needs to do.
That part makes sense to me. I understand that claim or whatever, which is awesome. I'm more specifically curious about if you're doing like like phototherapy. It is a specific wavelength of light that is targeted on a certain part of you generally, or it could be your face, you could be in a sauna, different types of things, but it's a specific wavelength of light. Those light photons go in and interact with your mitochondria and the different organelles in your systems and do all of the cool things that you're kind of describing. It's super specific, high energy, extraordinary, powered by gigantic batteries, like light photons or the sun, which is nuclear reactions shooting into you. And so my question really is, claim it seems is that super high energy is a similar, like, how is that the same power as what's passively coming off your body when it's known that you can measure the amount of energy that comes off your body and it's not anywhere near the amount that like PBM, like a traditional PBM with like a battery and connected to like hardcore electronics. How does a patch that passively uses the light that's emitting off of your body same thing or have the same effect as PBM or phototherapy in general?
Different mechanism using our own body's light. So it's not that we're needing the outside light source to come in to do it.
Got it.
I mean, you're talking about light therapy as a whole in general, but yet needing that high powered laser or light beam to create something. It's harnessing the body's own light that we already emit.
What I'm more specifically asking is the research on phototherapy suggests that to get the effects that you're describing, like to release stem cells, to do the GHK, like to release those types of things, those are known effects for phototherapy and like photobiomodulation. That does happen with them. That's extraordinarily high wavelengths of light and high energy input over extended periods of time. That's known effects for these. So saying that a passive device is using way lower energy, like nanometers of light coming off of your body, has the same effect. That's what I'm saying. The math ain't mathin'. And I'm curious about specifically, like, because what comes off your body is not the same as sun.
Correct.
Do you agree with that? And would you agree it's not the same as like a highly concentrated laser? So if it takes that amount of energy to get the effects that you're describing, how does the passive patch get to the same effect? That's where I'm kind of confused.
So the wavelength of light that is coming off of this patch, that's patented, that wavelength of light is powerful. So people ask all the time, what if I don't emit a lot of energy? What if I don't have enough body heat? So yes, we are the power source, but it converts that light that we are emitting into a specific wavelength from the lattice that's in the patch. So that wavelength between that 400 through 1,000 nanometers is what stimulates the nerves underneath the skin, that stimulates the elevation of whatever process or peptide in the body. So it's not we are the powerhouse, we're the source, but it's the wavelength of light that's reflected back into the body that is powerful, that wavelength.
And their research to support that the amount of energy that your body produces is similar to PBM or phototherapy or the sun?
Good question. Good question. I'd have to look at that.
Be an interesting one. I'm just very curious about this kind of stuff because light is something I've studied a lot, especially in relation to the brain. So that could be an interesting one to kind of look at in general.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, cool. We're getting deep here. In relation to one of the things that I'm looking at is longer term studies. You've been using this for like 3 years. It kind of gives you that too good to be true type vibe when you're like, yeah, there's no side effects. It's like the infomercial and you're like, there's no freaking way. Like there's, that's hard to understand, I guess. And that's where we see a lot of consumers kind of get skeptical when we do research with them and things like that. So can you talk a little bit more about that? I know you have anecdotal experience, but is there any other things that, anything else you could talk about in relation to longer term effects?
Yep. So what I mentioned earlier about peptides elevating and compounding, what people notice improves the longer they patch. So your body prioritizes what needs to happen. So let's say, for example, a lady that I have on my team that has MS. Okay. That's her situation, in a wheelchair, 6 years, 26 different medications. Okay. Initially from using the patch, didn't feel anything, right? Several months go by. She starts to notice some changes. She's able to start to stand up a little bit. Okay. Some more months go by. She's actually able to walk with a walker. Compounding, she's able to start improving her quality of life, getting out of the wheelchair, coming off the medications with her doctor, of course. 2 years go by. And she's able to do everything she used to do previous diagnosis, and she's off all her meds except for 4. Didn't happen right away. Didn't happen in the first couple months. It happened over a long period of time as her dormant cells woke up, as her body got back into balance in different ways, different organs at different times, different systems, different things she was able to do, abilities to function where she wasn't before. And I don't want to say that's extreme. So we've had many people, for example, one of the first people I interviewed had been using the patch for a couple years. It had just been on the market just a couple years at that point in time and had heart attack. Okay. So at age 35, he had a heart attack. And he had tried all the he's a pharmacologist. So all the, meds for years, nothing improved his quality of his heart. Years go by. Fast forward to when I interviewed him, he was 64 years old. And he had been using the patch, like I said, for about 2 years. Nothing improved his functionality of his heart. It was functioning into its 70s, right? From when he had the heart attack in his 30s. 2 years go by and his heart's functioning now back in his 40s. I interviewed him again earlier this year. Heart's still functioning even into the late 30s. Why is that now here 5 years later that his heart is functioning even better and his quality of life is better than it was, and he'd done all the things before? Because of the consistency of the patch. Using that to elevate the peptide, to elevate the stem cells, the body continues to repair and regenerate. It just doesn't happen immediately. It's not a quick fix. It's not, go sit in this box and poof, I push the button and everything is like this. It really does take time. And I think that's the biggest thing when you talk about, notes to consumers. This is not a quick fix. Don't expect to put this patch on for 30 days and 30 years of your symptoms go away. I Zoomed with a lady yesterday that has had issues with, RA for years and years and couldn't make complete fist. She's been patching a year and she's crossed a lot of things off of her list. Last year she couldn't do yoga. This year she can do yoga. She couldn't go hiking. She lives out in Oregon. Now she can hike, right? Lots of things are improving. She still can't make fists. And so she said, what should I do? Well, do I keep patching? I said, well, how long have you been dealing with this? 20 years. 20 years you've been dealing with these symptoms, these limitations. You've seen things improve, right? Your quality of sleep, your mobility and your movements and things you're able to do physically. Your body has not addressed all of this yet. So are you going to keep going and keep patching to see when that's going to knock off, right? 20 years, 1 year later, you got a lot that's happened, but not everything's done yet. So it is something that takes time, and being consistent with it, staying hydrated with it is really important, of course, as with all things, but being consistent with the patching is what people notice that bigger change. Not just on the outside, people notice physical change on the outside because of what's happening on the inside. As you reduce inflammation, as you bring the body into balance, right? Kidney function improves, liver function improves, cardiovascular function improves. It's not a quick fix, though. It's definitely something that's going to happen over time.
Thing I'm curious about, and as a doctor yourself, I'm sure you think about this, like correlation doesn't equal causation necessarily. Like there are confounding variables that could contribute to some of the benefits over time. Is there been any direct link or causative link between the patching and the benefits?
Meaning as far as supplementation, food, those types of things, exercise?
Yeah, all those could be confounding variables. Confounding, variables. I just didn't know if there's any like direct causative link like that would suggest that the benefits that are being derived are specifically from the patch or from placebo effect or from nutrition or supplement or anything else that's going on.
Right. So we don't have anything reported in our studies on nutritional supplements or food. We're not getting that specific. We're just looking more at urinalysis. We're looking at the neurotransmitters. We're looking at the blood. We're looking at the biofield. So looking at different metrics that way, not putting into play, here's this group of people with this diet or this lifestyle choices or not. They'll say in the studies, healthy female, 60-year-old, or whatever it may be, or, blood pressure elevated this much, or maybe, person with sleep issues, depending on the study that the patch they're studying, right? The population they're looking for. We don't have any long-term studies that are monitoring specific diet or lifestyle choices and how the patch is impacting that or not. We know that a lot of people that come to this technology that we're helping with across the globe have had health issues, right? A lot of people are seeking alternatives. They're looking for something that can possibly help them in their situation when they've exhausted all other means. Or maybe they have some results or some benefits and maybe they've plateaued. And not that we don't have a population of us that are healthy, we absolutely do, but we have a large population of people that are not. And they find that maybe they're not making the best lifestyle choices because they can't. They haven't felt great. They didn't sleep great. They don't have the mental clarity or the physical energy or ability due to their limitations to be able to do the things they want to do. And over time, those choices start to change as they're out of pain, as they're sleeping through the night, as their mental faculties come back onto line, and they're able to do the things that they used to do before, like go dancing, or go bowling, or play golf, socialize, interact with other people that they weren't able to do because they were homebound, because they couldn't get out. Maybe they were incontinent. They had other types of issues that prevented them from leaving their home. And so when those things over time resolve, then they're able to get out and do things they used to do in a better quality of life.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Love it. Love the science. Love the deep dive in the science. As always, I can't help myself. I'd love to ask a little bit about the things buyers might think about before they dive in. You guys are one of the first network marketing companies we talked with before. So I'd love to understand that business model a little bit and how you guys think about that or work through that with buyers before they hop on or before they start working with you or using your products.
Absolutely. So anyone can be a customer. You can just purchase the product at the discounted price. You don't have any commitment. There's no requirement to buy any set amount, to share with anyone, to sell anything. You don't have to do that. Anyone can purchase. You have to purchase through someone. Most people find out about this through a friend or a family member or someone that they find on social media or online. And so they're purchasing through someone. Okay. If you go to LifeWave.com, then of course they're going to direct you to someone to purchase through, because we want to make sure we are providing customer service and taking care of our customers. We really value the quality that we give to our customers to make sure we're meeting their needs. We are not here to, treat or diagnose anyone, of course. Given, we're not here to say, oh, you're on these meds. Good. These are the patches you need. You're going to work with your healthcare practitioner on those types of things. But anyone can be a customer and use this technology at the discounted price. And you can buy retail, but anybody can also buy it at the wholesale price. As far as the component of this as being a multi-level marketing company, we are word of mouth. And it's interesting because David shares this. He, as a scientist and a researcher, was not a fan of multi-level marketing, network marketing 20 plus years ago. That was not his modality. He had been to a underwhelming meeting. He shared, right after college, and said that was not what he was going to do in his life or at any point in time. And what happened was when he invented this patch, and after the studies at Stanford and whatnot, he started getting people saying, hey, I talked to so-and-so, and I think what you've got could help them. Could you reach out to this person? So he'd reach out to them, and one person led to the next, and he got introduced to other people that said, hey, I've heard about your patches through so-and-so. Could you tell me some more information? I'm looking for XYZ. And so it came very clear that his model for distribution was not going to be in GNC or Walmart, but it was going to be word of mouth from people, because people kept coming to him and saying, you really need to put this on the market, with people telling people about it. And so there is a component to this that you can be what we call a brand partner, and you can share this with other people. And of course, as with anything, they're purchasing, someone's making money. If you're buying it at GNC, someone's making money. If you're buying it at CVS or Walmart, someone is making money off of that, right? The difference with this model is it's not a big box corporation. It's actually, someone like me that's just trying to keep herself healthy and take care of her family. Or it's someone like the lady that was in a wheelchair that was just trying to have some extra money to be able to go hiking and do the things she used to do with her husband before she was debilitated. So it's just helping out that everyday person that has a heart for caring for other people. It's not about mass sales. It's not about how can I get, in front of as many people as possible and just sales, ads, things like that. We're very much focused on locking arms with people, whether you're a customer or a brand partner, and helping them to whatever serves their needs, whatever helps them. MLM's gotten a bad rap out there. I've been in MLM for the last 20 years. And unfortunately, there's been, because of social media, because I was in multi-level marketing before social media was around, And there was no spamming because you met with people in their homes or at coffee shops, or maybe you got to a hotel room, right? But there wasn't any of this craziness that's taken place over the last 10 years online, where you get 15 million people inboxing you the exact same message over and over again, and buy my product, pay for my house, pay for my plane, la, 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 all of this stuff. Social media is really kind of giving it a bad rap in some sectors and with some people. And so some people have said, no, never again will I ever have anything to do with any of those companies. I don't care what the product is. And that's unfortunate because there are a lot of really good products out there. And I personally, myself, would rather find something that I've researched and I know and trust, and find someone obviously that I know and trust to buy a product at a wholesale price versus going to a big box store and supporting that and their hidden agendas and what they're doing. So that's just me personally. I'd rather have anything shipped to my door at a discount than having to go out and buy it.
Fair enough. So another thing that I feel like customers are always looking for in general is, I know I am, things that like you can guarantee. Like, and it's hard in science-backed companies, or health and wellness companies in relation to like guarantees. You got to be careful. But are there any things that like LifeWave can guarantee? Like, will it live longer? Will it be happier? Like, what types of things do you guys guarantee? Like, I'm just curious.
Well, we can't guarantee you're going to live longer, be happier.
Yeah, fair. That's fair. Yeah,
I wish we could. If you stay on the patches long enough, you'll live longer and be happier. But we do have a 30-day money-back guarantee on all of our brand partners' purchases. And we have a 90-day money-back guarantee on all of our retail preferred customer purchases. So meaning if you buy the product, you don't like it, ship back whatever you don't use, and we'll give you a full refund on that amount. So we do offer that. Not guaranteeing you're going to experience a set result, but that if you're not happy for whatever reason in that first 30 days or in that first 90 days, then we'll give you a full refund, no questions asked.
Got it. Okay, that's awesome. The other thing I'm curious, I keep going back to this because it's just wild, but like I just want to confirm that like you're truly saying there are no trade-offs, there's no trade-off risks, there's no side effects. It's like completely like 100% safe.
Yeah, so if you look at our clinical studies, you have to report if there's adverse effects. Okay, so you can look at all of our clinical studies, every one of them will say no adverse effects. And the reason why is because, again, it's a wavelength of light that's elevating a process or a peptide in the body that's already there. We're not putting anything in that can interact or cause harm. It's light. And so there are no contraindications to any, and again, I'm not your doctor, right? I'm not anyone's doctor. So you're on your meds, talk to your doctor, ask him if you can use a non-transdermal patch. He knows what patches are. He knows the difference between transdermal and non-transdermal. Non-transdermal, nothing's going in. Okay, fine. No big deal. Nothing to have any contraindications with. Well, that PhD I got in functional medicine, the book is this thick with prescription medications, tiniest print, this tall, huge book with every contraindication to every food, every other medicine, every supplement, every herb, every liquid. They're all listed, the whole book, this thick and this tall with teeny tiny baby print. There are a million different types of contraindications that are out there. For us to say there's no contraindications is crazy, but it's a wavelength of light that activates a peptide, and that peptide is in your body. You were born with it. And it's just saying, hey, let's do what you used to do. Let's elevate this peptide. This peptide has benefit. Glutathione has benefit, right? Carnosine has benefit. Melatonin has benefit when we elevate that. And so triggering beta oxidation has benefit, impacting the mitochondria, elevating that mitochondria. That has benefit in the body. It's not going to hurt you if you elevate these peptides.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I think of something like cancer. And cancer is an overabundance of certain types of cells and things like that. And so maybe the opposite, having less or something, wouldn't be bad. I was just curious if there's any thoughts or research on like too much. Like you wear these patches and like you could get a copper imbalance from too much GHK. If you have excess copper, that could cause oxidative stress. It could overstimulate your mitochondria and start to kill them, which could dysregulate hormones, which can dysregulate your immune system and things like that. And so I just say it's affecting GHK and it's pumping it up so much. Too much, it breaks that homeostatic load of the super computer that is your body and brain.
So think with all the patches, think balance. Bring it into balance. So when I first got involved with this, there was a patch called Eon that we still have. An incredible patch that reduces inflammation. One of the inflammatory markers is fibrinogen. Fibrinogen is a direct link to cardiovascular disease, not cholesterol, but fibrinogen. So looking at that patch, my daughter had low fibrinogen. She'd always had low fibrinogen. And no matter what, all the things I did, it would kind of go up and down. And she went through, started having her cycle, and it bottomed out. So my big concern was that this is going to lower, if this patch, right, this ion that upregulates SOD, that's going to bring down inflammatory markers, if it brings down her fibrinogen, she could bleed out. And and so I asked him this, and he said, so balance. If something's too high, it brings it down. If something's too low, it brings it up. That is how this works. So it's not going to throw something like elevated, like you said, for example, GHK. GHK, Cu, the part means that GHK, that tripeptide, has an affinity to copper. So it's not going to elevate your copper. Most people are copper deficient, as they are mineral deficient across the board. Mm-hmm. So we really like you to have a square of dark chocolate a day, or eat liver if you like liver, to make sure chlorophyll, something like that, you got copper in your body, because most people are deficient in it. So we're not going to shoot your copper levels through the roof, or anything through the roof. You're going to elevate it in a way that it is in balance. That's the whole point of it, is to elevate it. It goes and does what it does from there, whether it's, mitochondria or whatever the peptide is that it's doing. But think balance, not so much. Now, I'll tell you this, glutathione being the master antioxidant, right, that it is, a typical supplement or IV push is going to elevate your glutathione by about 20 to 23%. Has a 7-minute half-life, it's gone. That's just glutathione, okay? So when you use our patch, that is a patch that we say, use that once a week, twice a week, maybe every other day. It does elevate your own glutathione over 300%, and it sustains it for a 24-hour period. So for some people, that may be a little too much, too fast, right? And so using glutathione, if you're used to using glutathione, if you're a big detoxer, you're into all different types of antioxidants, that's fantastic, right? I had no problem using glutathione on day one, and I use it every day, because the oldest people on the planet have the highest level of glutathione. But when you look at elevating your own, for some people, right, that can be, if you're doing it a lot, you may be on the toilet a little bit more than normal. You may have some detox effects from that. So we always say go slow with glutathione. Use that every other day or every third day or even once a week.
300% increase. That is wild. Love to see some of the research around that. That's a huge increase.
I promise. I have all the clinical studies.
I love them. That's awesome. All right. So as we're bringing in for a landing here, there's some signature questions we'd love to ask everybody. There's a couple fun ones, because every time we have somebody on the podcast, we ask the previous guest to leave a question for the next guest. So we've got one of those for you, and then you'll get to leave one for somebody as well. So, but the first one that we ask is, what's a question that you wish people asked you more often?
I wish people asked me. I think a lot of I wish they didn't ask me, but wish me more often. Ask me more often. I think I would like to know. I would like for them to ask me more about how they're going to feel a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 5 years from now. I wish they would forward think enough to think about asking, how do you think this is going to make me feel in the long run? Instead of their immediate short term, I want it now. How fast can this change the way I feel? I wish they asked me more about how I'm going to feel in a year or 2 or 3.
Ask Dr. Stacy about the future. Another question we love to ask, because we work with tons of different health and wellness companies, is what's a partnership or connection that would really help LifeWave outside of just them giving you money, like raising money or investors or things, like outside of investors and things like, what's a partnership that'd be interesting, or a connection that'd be cool for y'all?
David is all about researchers. So if there are people that are interested in doing research on this technology, he has funding for that. He attended a BioWell conference with me last year for a group of BioWell practitioners, and he stated that then, and he stated it again every time I'm with him. If you have more people that want to do research, I will fund that. His daughter's in charge of that department, but he wants more people out there doing research. I just connected him with a pediatric brain doctor just here recently, a couple weeks ago. He was very happy to make that connection. They set up a time to Zoom so they could talk about the parameters of the study. I connected him with a cardiologist on my team last year. He's very open to and wants more partnerships with people that want to do.
Awesome. That's great. It'd be awesome to see some more independent studies as well. I saw LifeWave funds a lot of these, which is great, but it's just nice for you guys to be able to have some independent ones as well. That's like not funded by you. So you can be like, yeah, we didn't fund this one, guys. So that's cool. That's great. Lots of people watch this. I think could fall in that camp and can connect you. So All right. The question for this is a very interesting one based on the story with your daughter and just
Okay.
your and being a teacher previously. The question that Dr. Paul Zak from Immersion Neuroscience left is, can you spoil a child too much?
I would say yes. Yes, you
Uh-oh.
can. Yeah. You can spoil them rotten to where they're entitled little brat and don't take ownership for their own life. I think you
Got it. Okay. The jury's out. You definitely can spoil a kid too much. Fair enough. That's cool. Okay, we'd love to learn what's something that's like a good question or something that's on your mind we should ask the next company or next founder that hops on with us that could build some transparency with our audience and things like that.
Oh, on the spot question for the next person. I'm going to go back to the future and I'm going to say, how do you think this is going to impact the population in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? What you're proposing right now and sharing, how is it going to impact in the long term?
Writing this down right now, long term, 10, 5, 10, 20 years. Wow, that's a great one. I'd love to end with asking you that very question yourself. Like, how do you think LifeWave will affect the population in the world over the next 5, 10, 20 years?
Number one, it's going to give a whole lot more people hope, but also results in improving their life. It's going to give people their life back, but also with the patches. But I'll also say what I know that's coming, and I did sign an NDA on that, so I can't share that information right now. But
Okay.
what I do know that is coming is going to even greater impact the population in more ways. Like I said, we are a life technology company. So think about not just your health, but all aspects of your life and being able to simplify things and make things greener and better for the future generations to come.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that vision of the future. Let's get there together. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave the audience with? I couldn't think of something better than what you just said, but is there anything else you'd like to leave the audience with? Any place you'd like to link them? Anything like that?
I think the biggest thing is to be open. You know, you started this with kind of like, yeah, we've got some people out there, they're skeptical. We want to talk about this and that. And I understand, be skeptical. I'm a huge researcher. I like to dive in. I like to read. I like to see what I'm going to do, what I'm going to use, where I'm going to go, who I'm going to put my trust in. And not that every single time it's 100% perfect to the core, right? We do things, we use things, we discern, and we move forward. But I'm asking you to be open in this, open in looking at this technology. Come to it with an open mind. Well, what if this works for me? What if this works for my mom? What if this is what I've been praying for that I didn't know existed yesterday? Because there was a day that I didn't know this existed, but I was looking for that next step for my daughter, that next thing that could help her in some way, searching for anything and everything out there, just to help her improve her quality of life. So just be open to look into it and try it. What if it works?
What if? Love the curiosity. Awesome. Well, can't think of a better way to bring it in for landing. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. We're so happy to have you. If you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe on YouTube. We'd love to see you there. Thank you so much. See y'all next time. Peace.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you.